We would like to share both our success and failure in fighting coronavirus and in protecting our citizens, both young and old, keeping them healthy and keeping them employed as much as we can. We are more than happy to share our experience and collaborate with any cities in your countries. We would like to hear their best practices and share ours. We did it and we do it with a lot of mayors. We have a lot of sister city and we do it together. I have many connections with the mayors from around the world. So thank you for joining us today. In Israel, we are still in the middle of this pandemic. Unfortunately, it seems we are witnessing a second outbreak in Israel this past few weeks. A lot of what was done in Israel decided on the national level by Prime Minister and the relevant ministers. But the Federation of Local Authorities is the infrastructure and the backbone of the country when it comes to implementation. We provide services to the 9 million citizens through the 257 municipalities. We help drive some of the decisions regarding getting back to normal, especially, of course, in education. We spend most of our time in emergency crisis and the crisis management on both national and local levels. We implemented emergency management and crisis communication. Everything was constantly changing and evolving. Our emergency command center in the Federation of Local Authorities in Israel, which was manned 24/7, is our dedicated municipal emergency crisis application. We also acted as a connector between the government, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Health, Education, Welfare, and other ministers, and the municipalities through the mayors. There are a number of things we did on the national level. But first, I would like to mention our emergency dashboard in my city, in Modi'in Maccabim Road, and how it helped us to stop the spread of coronavirus. We set up a 24/7 center which mapped the city. We could pinpoint where the infection were, who is in isolation, where the high-risk residents are located, and who needs our help. We integrated the cell phone and WhatsApp communication that we knew when to send the human face to interact. In addition, this area, these are some of the areas where our operational tools were deployed. One is education, implementing a plan for remote education. There are more than 2 million students in Israel. Schools and teachers had to pivot, just like startups, and adjust their classroom, their material, and the very way they teach. Two, it's healthcare. Our most important tool was the National Municipal Index. We could measure where the virus was spreading and deploy resources where needed. This saved life and prevented further infection. Three, Israeli Arab community. We had a big impact here. First, organizing test center for them, then providing an Arabic hotline for residents to call because a lot of information was not in Arabic. Four, it's the National Lottery. It's part of our organization. We are the house of the National Lottery, the Federation of Local Authorities, of course. We committed 200 million shekels, about $60 million, toward the coronavirus recovery. $60 million, food, equipment, medicine, summer school, and the hospital. We were on the front line with budget and logistics. Five is psychological and emotional support. Do not underestimate how important this was and it was implemented at a local, even personal level. We have to pay attention to mental health issues. We need to prepare and respond. Now, as we look toward the future, we have real challenges. For now, opening schools on September 1st is our next big challenge. The Federation of Local Authorities is very busy right now preparing for the start of schools. There is no reason why we shouldn't start schools on time and in person. Kids need to be in schools. I look forward to hearing from you, from each of you. We work together with mayors from your countries. We have a lot of sister cities and cooperation and partnership with a lot of cities in Europe, in United States, in other states around the world. And we would like to widen, deepen it, and now it's time to work together. I did it and do it with my sister city in Rochester, in upstate New York, in Banja Luka, in Srpska, in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and other cities. And I talk with my friends, my fellow mayors, and we do it with a lot of mayors. We have a common things, and we would like to widen and deep this wonderful relationship. We are the gate through the, of course, through the Federation of Local Authorities to cooperate and to build a relationship between the cities in your countries to Israel. Thank you very much. Toda rabba.
Thank you, Mayor Bibas, for sharing those insights. It was truly inspiring. We would now like to ask Mr. Meron Reuven, Chief of State Protocol of the State of Israel, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to give over his remarks.
Shiri, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, excellent. Well, it's not morning already. It's already afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to be very brief because if any of the diplomats want to hear me, they know how to get hold of me. So I first of all would very much like to thank everybody in the Federation of Local Authorities in Israel for this cooperation and collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and with all the embassies. And I would like to say that you are going to hear from a very impressive array of mayors from both larger cities and smaller cities. Actually, Mayor Bibas was my mayor until a year ago when I left Modi'in Maccabim Reut after living there for 21 years. So yes, I feel a great affinity for the city. And you are sure to have a very good debate here this afternoon. I hope that after this special debate, there will be a lot more international contact between the Federation of Local Authorities in Israel and other countries around the world. And I'm sure that the international division led by Shiri Steinhardt-Zeller will, of course, be able to help you in all of this. And if not, we will help with the contact and the collaboration. Once again, thank you for inviting us. And it's a pleasure to be here with you during this special panel. And enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meron, for joining us. And we're grateful for the constant cooperation. The local government in Israel is characterized by strong leadership, led by talented and hardworking mayors. The mayors in Israel are elected for 5 years term and are actually the only directly elected leaders in the country. We've asked for a variety of mayors to join us from municipalities which represents Israel's diverse cities and towns. We would now like to begin our panel with our guest mayors. First, I would like to welcome Mr. Tzvika Brot, the mayor of Bat Yam, which arguably has the nicest beaches in all of Israel. Just don't tell the other mayors. Mayor Brot, hello, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Shiri, and good afternoon, ambassadors. First of all, thank you for these opportunity, and thank you, Chaim Bibas, a colleague and my friend, for your leadership and all of the hard and wonderful work that you are doing by leading the local authority in Israel. Well, I took office 20 months ago. This is my first term as mayor. Before that, I was a senior journalist in the IDF radio and Yediot Aharonot newspaper. I served as the political correspondent for the newspaper, which is the biggest in Israel. And at some point, when I got tired of trashing politicians, I decided to become one of them. So now I'm the youngest mayor ever elected in Bat Yam. I was 38. And I can assure you, and I'm completely objective here, of course, that Bat Yam is one of the wonderful cities in Israel. Seriously, we are right in the center, right next to Tel Aviv, south of Tel Aviv. So we have all the benefits and the pros of being close to the big city without the cons of heavy traffic and noise, etc. Bat Yam is also one of the biggest cities in the country, the population of 160,000 people, which is quite big in Israeli perspective, at least. And we have the most beautiful beach, as Shiri said, 3.5 kilometers long. And we are #1 in the country in urban renewal project. I told you before that Bat Yam is one of the biggest cities in terms of population, but in terms of territory, we are only 9 square kilometers, which is not big, so we don't have a lot of unbuilt land. So our future depends on urban renewal, and we are leading in this field, not just nationally, but even internationally. Bat Yam also had one of the best school systems in the country. You can always find some of our schools in the best top 20 schools in Israel. And it's not easy to keep that record because more than 35% of our population are newcomers, Jews that left their countries and came to Israel and settled in Bat Yam. And we are facing a challenge because their children goes to school without knowing the language and they are not familiar with the Israeli atmosphere. So there's a gap between them and the startup nation that we want to be. But we are working hard and we are able to close that gap. So before we will start answering question about coronavirus, I just want you to remember all those wonderful things about Bat Yam, and I would like to invite all of you to visit my city and to see that I was indeed completely objective.
Thank you, Tzvika. During the first wave of Corona, you were one of the first mayors to take the tough decision of closing synagogues in your city for 30 days. How did you come to make this decision? And how do you plan to keep up communal religious life with the upcoming high holiday in mind?
Well, I told you before that Bat Yam is a wonderful city, but it's not because everything is wonderful in it. It's the other way around. We are the oldest city in the country. We have the highest number of old people senior citizens living in Bat Yam. Twice as much, by the way, from the national average. We have huge percentage of children with special needs, and twice as much from the national average of single moms. And as I told you, we have 35% of newcomers, mostly from Russia, some of them from Ethiopia, and even France. So now take all the data that I just gave you and try to think how we can start managing a world-class mega crisis like the coronavirus in my city. But we like challenges. So the first thing that we did back in February, even before coronavirus hits Israel, is to try to see what our colleagues in China and South Korea and other countries did before us. And we opened a war room right next to my office in order to purchase all the products that we need in order to be prepared. We buy tons of face masks and liquid alcohol for sanitation. We wrote a plan how to send most of our employees to work from home, but mostly how to support the senior citizens and the people with special needs in Bat Yam. One of the unique projects that we did is to open a call center. It was a special call center for the senior citizens, but we contacted them. We didn't wait them to call us, and we did like maybe 20,000 calls, and it was amazing because it was even before the lockdown. We just wanted them to know that there is someone there together with them, at least in our heart, and we are only a phone call away from any help that they might need. So in the first few weeks of coronavirus in Israel, we took a hit, a big one. We lost around 15 people that died, and it might not sound loud to you when we are talking about so many people that died around the world, but at that point, 15 people was 10% from all the dead from coronavirus in Israel, when Bat Yam is only 2% from the population. So I decided that I don't have time to wait for the government. We still didn't have a lockdown nationally, but I decided to have one in my city. So I decided not to allow to crowd more than 50 people together when around the country it was allowed like 500. And I decided for the first time ever to close the synagogues. And it was quite a shock, but it worked. Because 2 weeks later, the number of people that infected in Bat Yam dropped from around 40, 50 per day to around 7 or 8. And 2 weeks after, when the government declared a lockdown, we showed a fantastic number that lasted a few months till the second outbreak around. Now, in my city, we have 130 synagogues. Third of our population goes to shul, to synagogue, at least during Shabbat, in the holidays. So I knew that my decision will be a national impact. So I decided to take this decision myself with all the responsibility. I spoke to the chief rabbi and I asked him to endorse my decision, and he did. And I explained to the public that even the Bible said that when human life are at stake, no one else's matter. This is more important than anything else. So I agree that most of the people agreed with me then, and I think maybe 2 weeks after, everyone agreed. And we know today that that decision saved life, and I'm proud of it. And now our next challenge is to get ready to the upcoming holidays next month. We have Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, and Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. And there's a huge number of Israelis that goes to synagogue to pray. So we are doing whatever we can to find a solution. We are allowed people to pray in schoolyards and parks instead of indoors. And we are going to supply them a lot of logistics, chairs and water, whatever they need. But we're also going to explain to the public that this year is not going to be like every year, and we have to be patient. And if we have all people, it's best for them to stay and pray at home because we don't want them to risk themselves. And I think that the combination between helping people to keep their religious life and to do it outdoor and to communicate all the guidelines with full disclosure to the public, that will help us convince the one that need to stay home to actually stay home. And we will go this holiday season together with a lot of patience and helping each other. But most important, in my view, is to stay a green city in order to keep our citizens alive and well.
Thank you, Mayor Brot. Thank you for joining us, and please stay tuned for the ambassador's questions. Next up, we have Dr. Samir Mahmoud. Samir is the mayor of Al-Fahim, one of Israel's largest Arab cities. Dr. Mahmoud will be speaking in Hebrew. So to hear translation into English, please click below on the symbol of the globe to receive simultaneous translation. Please, Dr. Mahmoud, we are with you.
צהריים טובים, תודה רבה למרכז השלטון המקומי, שבאמת הוביל את כל המערכה מול הקורונה בהרבה כבוד. תודה לחיים על המאמץ הגדול שעשה. אני ראש עיר מזה כשנה ו8 חודשים. קודם שימשתי כאיש חינוך, כמורה, מחנך, סגן מנהל, מנהל מלווה ומרצה באקדמיה. העיר מאכלסת כיום כ-60,000 תושבים. תחום השיפוט הוא כ-26,000 דונם כמעט. אנחנו שייכים לאשכול סוציו-אקונומי 2 מתוך 10, כאשר רק 17 יישובים עניים מאום-אל-פחם. כלומר, אנחנו עיר מאוד ענייה. העיר סובלת מפשיעה ואלימות, ואנחנו עיר שסובלת מקשיים כספיים ומחסור בתקציבים. לגבי תוצרי הקורונה, אני יכול להתייחס לארבעה דברים שהם תוצרי קורונה בעיר אום-אל-פחם. דבר ראשון, נכון להיום, יש לי כמעט 510 חולי קורונה, מתוכם 182 מאומתים כיום הם חולים פעילים. שניים נפטרו לצערי הרב. הנקודה השנייה, שיעור האבטלה ממש עלה ל-31%. היינו לפני הקורונה ב9% אבטלה, היום אנחנו הגענו ל-31%. תוספת של דורשי עבודה רק בתקופה הקצרה הזאת, כמעט 4,300 דורש עבודה. יש עומס גדול על שירותי הרווחה, כיום אנחנו עלינו מ-500 תיקים ברווחה לכמעט 1,250 תיק ברווחה. כמו כן, הנקודה הרביעית זה עסקים במשבר. יש לי בעיר, לצערי הרב, יש לנו עסקים קטנים. 99% מהעסקים בעיר הם עסקים קטנים. מעל 3,000 עסקים קטנים, כאשר מאות עסקים הם היום במשבר מאוד מאוד קשה, והם לא יכולים להתאושש מהמכה הקשה. בכל מה שקשור איך אנחנו פעלנו בתקופה של הגל הראשון וגם הגל השני. קודם כל, הפעלת מערך תומך של רווחה וקהילה. ממש הפעלנו מערך מאוד מאוד תומך. מערך הסברה כולל בשילוב אנשי דת ורפואה. כמו שהתייחס חיים, בהתחלה, לצערי הרב, הסברה הייתה לוקה בחסר, ורק עם הזמן הדברים הלכו והשתפרו גם ברמה הארצית. בשפה הערבית אני מתכוון. הנושא של חינוך פורמלי, הפעלת למידה מרחוק, אנחנו השתדלנו על אף המחסור הגדול שעדיין אנחנו חסר לנו כיום 4,300 מחשבים לילדים כדי לעשות למידה מרחוק באופן אפקטיבי. פגישות חירום יומיומיות, אנחנו קיימנו פגישות חירום יומיומיות בעירייה. הקמת חמ"ל לבינוי חולים ומבודדים. הקמת מוקד עירוני, אנחנו עיר, אבל לא היה מוקד עירוני. בזכות הקורונה, מוקד עירוני הוקם בעיר. היה שיתוף פעולה בורא בין המשטרה, העירייה, פיקוד העורף, משרד הבריאות, קופות חולים, חמ"ל החברה הערבית, מגזר השלישי, מרכז שלטון מקומי, שהקים גם חמ"ל לתפארת. הדגשים שאנחנו ממש לפעילות העירייה, יש כאן 4 צמתים מאוד מאוד חשובים. דבר ראשון, אנחנו גם קיימנו חקירות אפידמיולוגיות ושמירת קשר עם החולים מבודדים. כיום אני יום מקבל שמות חולים, אני אישית מתקשר אליהם, שואל לשלומם, בנוסף לכך יש לי גם מערך שלם של 2 אחיות לשעבר שהן היום עובדות עירייה ועובד סוציאלי, שהם בקשר והם גם מתחקים אחרי המסלולים שעשו החולים, וכך אנחנו גם מסייעים למשרד הבריאות בכל מה שקשור לחקירות אפידמיולוגיות. הנושא של מתנדבים ותרומות, דבר שלא היה קיים, ובזכות הקורונה הדברים צצו. אנחנו הגענו לכמעט 7,000 חבילות מזון, תוך כדי גיוס המתנדבים. צעירים התנדבו בקשר עם הקשישים, הם היו בקשר יומיומי, עדיין הם בקשר יומיומי עם הקשישים והמבוגרים שאצלנו. ביום חילקו 300 מנות חמות לקשישים. דבר שלישי, התנסות בחירום. החברה הערבית, הנושא של התנסות בחירום הוא לא היה שייך לה, וזה בלט ממש בגל הראשון. בגל הראשון הרבה אנשים אמרו לי זה לא יקרה, אבל לצערי הרב בסיכומו של יום זה קרה לנו, ואנחנו בפנים בתוך הקורונה, ובגל השני המצב עוד יותר קשה, כי אנחנו כנראה לא למדנו מהלקחים מהגל הראשון. והקשר עם פיקוד העורף, עם המשטרה, שזה גם שם דבר שהוא השתפר מיום ליום. היום יש לי יקלר שיושב בתוך העירייה, והוא אחד מאיתנו, ואנחנו מבצעים הרבה דברים בשותפות. מה שמאפיין את הקורונה בגל השני, ההידבקויות מתמקדות ב3 מישורים. חתונות, בתי אבל והידבקויות בתוך הבתים. עכשיו, החתונות מתקיימות היום בחצרות. אחרי סגירת האולמות, החתונות מתקיימות בחצרות. בבוקר הייתה לי ישיבה עם מפקד המשטרה, והיה לי גם קשר עם אחראים על המלחמה בקורונה במשרד הבריאות, ואני ביקשתי לפתוח את האולמות עם הגבלות של התו הסגול, כי אצלנו הנושא הזה של חתונות בחצרות רק עושה התפשטות למחלה. בתי אבל, אין הקפדה על מדידות חום, על שמירה, על עטיית מסכה, אלה דברים מאוד מאוד חשובים. ולצערי הרב יש הידבקות תוך הבית, כי אנשים נכנסים לבידוד, אבל לא שומרים על בידוד כמו שצריך לצערי הרב. אתגרים נוכחיים, איזה אתגרים עומדים לבטחנו? דבר ראשון, קידום החלטות ממשלה שיאפשרו צמצום ההדבקה. ההצעה שלי לפתוח את העולמות כמו שאמרתי. אנחנו ממשיכים בהסברה ואכיפה. יש הסברה ואכיפה מאוד מאוד אינטנסיבית בעיר. המשך קשר אישי, השיחות האישיות שלי ושל הצוות שלידי, הוא קשר יומיומי כמעט. הרחבת אמצעי הקצה, אני התייחסתי לנושא של מחסור קשה באמצעי קצה, במחשבים וכל מה שקשור לכך לתלמידים שלנו. התמודדות עם הירידה בהכנסות העצמיות של העירייה. יש ירידה דרסטית בהכנסות העצמיות של העירייה, ואנחנו מנסים גם לשבר את הנושא הזה. התמודדות עם העומס על שירותי הרווחה, גם כאן היה מקום, מרכז שלטון המקומי גם עשה המון כדי לתת לעובדים סוציאליים מקום של כבוד. חיזוק ומיסוד מערך המתנדבים והקהילה, שזה נושא שאני לוקח אותו כנקודת אור ונקודה חיובית. התמודדות עם העלייה הגבוהה בשיעור האבטלה, אנחנו מנסים בכל כוחנו לעשות את הכל כדי לשפר את הדברים. לסיכום אני יכול להגיד שהרשות המקומית היא זו שנמצאת בחוד החנית בהתמודדות עם המשבר, ואני רוצה להודות שוב למרכז שלטון המקומי ולכל העושים במלאכה. תודה.
Thank you, Dr. Mahmoud. It was really interesting. I'm your neighbor. I live 15 minutes away from you, and I learned a lot, so thank you very much for me as well. Actually, you answered most of my question, but I would like to ask again, since we see a rise in the infections in the Arab sector. So how do you view your position as mayor towards the residents in stopping major gathering in order to stop the infections? לאור העלייה בתחלואה במגזר הערבי. בבקשה.
כן, אני יכול להגיד, העלייה היא דרסטית. אנחנו חייבים יותר הסברה, כמו שאמרתי, יותר אכיפה, ואנחנו, הנושא של החתונות חייבים לתת מענה. אני בבוקר דיברתי עם איימן סייף, העוזר של פרופסור גמזו לחברה הערבית, ואני ביקשתי בכל לשון של בקשה להעביר את החתונות לאולמות עם ההגבלות של התו הסגול. זה לא יכול, כי התרבות שלנו לא מאפשרת לעשות את הדברים שנעשים בחברה היהודית, כי אנשים אין אולם, אז הם יעשו את זה בחצר. זה נקודה שנייה, ראשונה. נקודה שנייה שלגבי בתי אבל, אנחנו מתקשרים באופן אישי לאנשים, ומבקשים מהם לא לעשות בתי אבל לנפטרים, כי זה גם מקור להדבקה, נכון? לכן הקשר האישי, הקשר היומיומי עם האנשים, הוא זה שיכול גם להוריד את הנושא של ההידבקות ואת צמצום הגל השני. אלה הדברים העיקריים. אני מקווה שגם הנושא הזה של הרמזור, שיטת הרמזור שמשרד הבריאות אימץ לגבי היישובים, ייקחו אותו גם בחשבון עם פתיחת בתי הספר, כי בתי הספר, אני חושב, הדברים עוד יהיו עוד יותר קשה, ואני חושש שההידבקות תלך רק ותגדל.
יהודה, תעלה אותי. יהודה? Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for this important word. Thank you very much. Next, we have Ms. Karen Green. Karen is the mayor of Kadima Tzoran, a town in Israel center which focuses on agriculture production and is famous for its strawberries. Mayor Green, hello and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Shirin. Hi to all. Can you hear me? Hi, Shirin.
Yes, please.
Okay.
We can hear you, Karen.
Okay. Hi to all of you. I'm Karen Green, the mayor of Kadima Tzoran, municipality of 22,000 people in the middle of the Sharon, between Kfar Saba and Netanya. I'm proud to be one of the leadership of the local municipality in Israel. I think what our mayor, our head of the chairman, Chaim Bibas, did with all other colleagues, mayors in Israel, is something that we can all be proud of. The local leadership held the Israel, the people, the citizens, during this crisis. And I want to say, as a mayor, that I'm 2 years, almost 2 years as a mayor, the fact that I had this strong back from our mayor, our Chaim Bibas, our local municipality, was very important, because there was a lot of information every day, even every hour. And we needed to deliver the information to our people. But since we had our head court together, all the mayors, we could learn from each other, and the municipality gave all the information very, very good to us. I'm the mother of 2 kids. One is in the army. My daughter is in the army, and my son is in high school. I'm a lawyer. Before I was a mayor, I was a lawyer of a big firm in Israel, international firm. And for the past 10 years, I'm in the community, municipality member, PTA chairman, all kinds of things that I did. And I believe that together, my belief is that together we can achieve more. I have a sentence that I tell people that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I think we proved that during the Corona. Kadima Tzoran is 2 cities that combined together, Kadima and Tzoran. 15 years ago, the municipality said that it will be one city, and it's challenging because we don't have a border together. So it's like 2 cities that we need to manage them. Our socioeconomy is 8, but still the city is not rich. And what our big fortune is our human resource, our volunteers, and our community. Our big issues not during the Corona, is transportation and economy, to have more incomes to the city. But during the Corona, we had to act very fast, very creative, and with not many workers. That's for the opening. Maybe I will elaborate for the question, Shiri.
Mel Green, thank you very much. It was very interesting. I truly appreciate it. May I ask you, please, how did you view yourself as responsible for the morale of your citizens during the lockdown? How did you act to improve their moods, if so?
Okay, thank you, Shiri. As a mayor, I'm responsible for everything, from the bread and to the road and to the morale. And when we understood that our big challenge is the morale, because we are in a time with uncertainty, we knew that what's important most is the trust. The people trust in our leadership. First, my coalition, I have 2 deputies, Yitzhak Golbari and Shlomi Mukhtar. We came with strong messages to the people. Second, our social workers and our psychologists were the first one to stay with us and to help us to deliver the messages. And we opened an open line for all the questions of the citizens. And the third is the volunteers, because we understood when you are volunteer, you feel belong to what is going on. The resilience, our resilience is very important. So what we did with the IDF, okay, what we did is we took the city and we had 5 counties in the city, okay? City of 23,000 people, we put it to 5 counties. And we knew that if it's going to all on our shoulders, what we need to do is to have the opportunity to go to every door in our city. So we did something nice. We said, okay, we need to go to every door in the city. we'll do it in a nice way. We did Israel flags, and with our workers and with our volunteers, every house in Kadima Tzoran got the Israel flag. It was happy. It gave a lot of joy and a lot of pride to our citizens. But we did more. In the Independence Day, we knew we can't celebrate together. One of the challenges of the corona, that if you want to do community, in Hebrew, the word community means gathering, means being together. So how you do community without being together physically? So what we did in the Independence Day, we took our 5 districts in Kadima Tzoran, our 5 districts, and at the same time, we took cars with music, with DJs, with singers, and we got to all the neighbors in Kadima Tzoran. So we did 2 things. One, our districts, we knew by heart how we get to every door, to every house in Kadima Tzoran. And the second thing, we brought happiness and joy. And all the researchers see that when you are happy, when you have joy, you can deal with your things much stronger. That's what we call resilience. So the people were happy. Even for a short time, they felt together. They felt the community. So we had 2 things that we did that helped us. One, having the districts in Kadima Tzoran that the IDF said it's one of our goals. And second, the morale of the people was high. The third thing that we did was the call center that we opened. And people that felt loneliness when they had a phone call from a youth or from a grown-up asking, how are you? How are you doing? Do you need something? Most of the people doesn't need a thing, but they want to see that someone sees them, that someone take care of them. Even they don't have problem of food or any problem at all, but as a municipality, we see them. So yes, my goal as a mayor is also to take care of the morality of our people. I'm not alone with that. And that's one of the most important things to know, that we are not alone. We need to work together. And I think what you showed us together and what you're doing today is to say we are not alone. All the mayors, all the cities, we learn from each other, a lot of collaboration. I want to thank you for this opportunity and for the help during all the corona and all the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us, Karen. Such a strong message. The residents are not alone. It's so important. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Ilan Or, Mayor of Yesod HaMa'ala. Yesod HaMa'ala is the most northern town we have joining us for today's panel, which presents a unique situation during the COVID-19 crisis. Mr. Or, hello, and how are you? And thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Shiri. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mayor Chaim Bibas, for gathering us. 257 municipalities in Israel. It's a really, really big challenge. And being our chairman, the chairman of the Local Municipalities Federation. My name is Ilan Or, and I'm the mayor of Yesod HaMa'ala. And I'm also the chairman of the Municipal Studies Committee in the Local Authority Federation and the chairman of the Transportation and Health Committees of the Upper East Galilee Cluster, assembled from 18 municipalities. Yesod HaMa'ala is a village that was established in 1883 in the end of the 19th century by pioneers who came from Europe. The village is located in the Upper East Galilee, 8 kilometers from the Lebanese border from the north and from the east, 20 kilometers from the Syrian borders. Like you understand, we have a huge security challenges dealing with the threats from Hezbollah in the north and the terrorist organizations and Iran from the east. But although these threats, we live in a wonderful area located near several natural reserves like Lake Hula and the Hula Natural Reserve. 50% from the population here are working in agriculture. The farmers here are fruits tree breeders, growing plums, peaches, apricot, apples, and it's not only yet we work in agriculture. Also, the tourism is very. We developed the tourism field in the last years. I must say that in the north we have huge challenges that we deal every day. The coronavirus is the one that we are dealing right now, but it came in the middle of dealing with very big challenges like to create a high quality of employment and occupation here in the north. You need to understand that we live in the periphery. It's around 2.5, 3 hours in good day from Tel Aviv, and sometimes 5 hours from Tel Aviv, especially in Friday if you want to come to the north, and Thursday if you want to come back from Tel Aviv to the north. It will take you around 4 and 5 hours, although there is a really big improvement in the roads and the transportation infrastructure. We are dealing with house and accommodations, quality of health services, developing economic and growth engines, welfare. I spoke about the transportation, so we are dealing with improving every day, every time, every year with public transportation in our region and out from our region. Like I said, we work because there are several, we are here in our region around 18 municipalities, so we work when the whole is bigger than the sum of the parts as a cluster, and gathering together and working together is a very good solution of being a small village. Like I said, we are part of the confrontation zone, and it gave us a really big challenge dealing with the security threats.
Okay. Thank you, Ilan. May I ask you, as the mayor of Yesod HaMa'ala, peripheral local council, what activities we're taking in order to offer easy access to medical services? I know this is something that you're really into for your residents, especially during these times.
Okay, Shiri, thank you for the question. Like I said, I'm the chair of the health committees in the Upper East Galilee, of the cluster of the Upper East Galilee. So what we did first is initiating with the municipality of health checkpoints to check every citizens, every residents in our region that want to be checked with no assignation. I mean, if someone felt bad, he could come to the checkpoint and check himself, and after 24 and 48 hours, he got the answer. I must say that it was a very good initiation because we saw how the pressure of the mental pressure of the people went down. Secondly, using all the, sending all the information, using the networks and publish the information to the residents in my village and the region. I must say that the coronavirus, the COVID-19 found us in the middle of a huge process to upgrade our health services, doing mapping the gaps of the health services, and trying to comparing the services between the center of Israel and the north of Israel. I must say that here in the north we have less hospitalization beds, with the expert physician that lives and come here. In the north is less attractive for leaders, doctors, physician leaders in their fields, and the waiting list for experts is very high. Just to give you some numbers, the life expectancy here in the north is is around 4 to 6 years less than the center of Israel. The average of doctors in the hospital is around 1 to 6 to 1,000 residents, people, and the rehabilitation beds here in the north are 40, comparing to 240 to 1,000 people, comparing to 276 beds in the center of Israel. What we did, and I'm ending, is trying to create several things. One is creating cooperation between the medical centers or the health insurances in Israel, making a cooperation between them. So doctors of one Kupat Cholim will come to the other one, to the members of the other Kupat Cholim. Secondly, recruiting high quality of doctors, physicians, and third, to advance the digital medicine services. I mean, to advance to give our residents the services from the best doctors from the center of Israel. And I must say that the coronavirus, we found it as an opportunity to advance the digital services. I must say that I visited the Tel HaShomer Innovation Center. They are saying that 85% from the people who need the services don't need to see the doctor. They can give it using computers. So we have a lot of challenges. The coronavirus is not only a threat, it's also an opportunity to advance our medical services in the future. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for joining us, Ilan. It's a very essential information. Definitely something to think about. It was enlightening. Thank you. Before we go on to our last speaker, I would like to encourage you, dear ambassadors, to ask your questions via the chat, and we will be happy to answer them as soon as we're done with our speakers. So now, last but not least, we have Mr. Amir Kojavi, my friend, the mayor of Hod HaSharon, a city which prides itself on being in the center of Israel while still offering the feeling of living in the suburbs. Mayor Kojavi, hello Amir, the floor is yours.
Hi Sherry, thank you for the introduction. I'd say that unlike Tzvika before me, I would say that we're a city in the middle of Israel, like Sherry said, but we've just canceled a huge building plan. So we're not trying to pull any more residents into the city. I'm a mayor for the past 2 years, almost 2 years from the last municipal elections, like my friends before me. And I think one of the main challenges for us during this time was actually to understand what it is to be a mayor. There's no course for that. And we came into this new situation trying to figure out our role in the community, our role in front of the government. And into this came the COVID-19 crisis, which made us have to deal with whole new different problems. Hod HaSharon is a city of about 70,000 people, as I just said. And it is a city that is that values community. We have defined communities of both young and older generations, a lot of mid-levels, also socioeconomic wise very strong. But this COVID-19 crisis, we had to deal with major influx in, I'd say, job searches of people trying to find a new way to deal with the situation they're facing, having lost their jobs or trying to redefine themselves while working from home. And I think that most, I think one of the biggest challenges that we're facing going into September the 1st is trying to maintain the health of the city. We're defined as a green city. We've been defined as a green city throughout the crisis, meaning that the virus hasn't spread much into the city. And we're doing this by a lot of explanation, a lot of speaking to our citizens about how to maintain better health and how to make sure that there's no spreading the virus within the municipality. And it meant that we had to find a lot of ways to give services to the people of Hod HaSharon in manners which were not or are not in our program of work. For example, once we realized, or once we thought the schools are going to close, my head of emergency unit in the municipality, who was onto this COVID crisis even before there was a first case in Israel, when we understood we're going into a closing of our education system, we decided that we're going to do something unique. And we were the first city to open educational forums or educational abilities for the children of medical staff. Hod HaSharon is situated between 3 to 4 major hospitals in Israel, in the center of Israel, and most of, or many of our citizens are working in the medical industry as doctors or other kinds of staff. And we understood that this is something that if the municipality doesn't take care of and doesn't make sure that these people can go to work, then it's going to have an influence in the national level. And not only we decided we're going to open these facilities and take in the children of the medical staff, but we also had to deal with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education saying that we cannot do that. But still, we realized that this is a basic need from our citizens. And we went on with that. And just like that, there were many things during the COVID-19, and there still are, that need some thinking out of the box. And I think that if we're speaking to mayors today, then I think this is what defines our work the most in the past year or so. The need to think outside the box and realize that we cannot all wait for the central government to take action. And most of the action, as you've heard before from the other mayors, comes directly from the citizens or from the thinking environment within the municipality. And that's how we create the solutions that we are able to give our people. Kiri? Any question?
Thank you, Amir. To think outside of the box, definitely this is something we all should embrace those days. May I ask you, but what steps did your city take to protect the elderly population? You talked about it, but if you can elaborate, the elderly population, and how did you aid in making sure that they don't feel lonely? Loneliness is very crucial these days. So what did you do in order for them not to feel lonely during those trying periods?
Okay. I'd say one of the first thing we did was to take care of houses for elderly. As I said, we're very diverse in community. Hod HaSharon is usually considered a very young city, but actually 15% of our population is over the age of 65, and it's growing. It's a growing population because that kind of demographic is moving here to be closer to the grandchildren, to be closer to the children. And so we understood from the start that we're going to have an issue with this as we saw the numbers rising in that demographic. And people here are very much obedient and have the ability to make sure they stay home, they stay segregated. But we knew we have to give them the support, and we knew that we don't really know who they are because, as I said, a very strong demographic. They're not on our welfare lists. They're not on any other kind of list that we have. So we did a few things. We made sure that all the elderly homes that are private or are state-owned are taken care of by the municipality from almost day one. We spoke to all the people operating them, and we made sure that they understood the situation, that they understood what we expect them to do, which is close down the house and make sure nobody gets out, nobody goes in. That isn't necessary. And we made sure together, first through the municipality alone, and then later on with the army, that these places are taken care of via in elements of food and medication and all that. And then we also began to develop a cultural program for them. And we were able to make concerts outside of those homes and other kinds of cultural activities. But the major issue, I think, was getting to the population that is widespread across the city, the population that is still very much independent. And we did that by actually drawing out the lists through our tax-paying system. And we made sure that each and every one of the people over the age of 65 gets a phone call from the municipality. We pulled in the youth movements who took responsibility over that, and we made sure that we're helping them. We built a volunteer base that helped us. Each citizen that needed help getting food or medication was able to call into the municipality and ask for that, and we attach someone who would help them. We created a different way of taking out the garbage for people who didn't want to go out, who were afraid. They were able to ask for that as well. And I think one of the, apart for the daily work of the municipality of trying to get the system going and making sure everything is working, we try to give the people, like Karen said, the feeling that we're always thinking about them. One of our last initiatives was with children and citizens who are going along with lists that we provide them with of elderly people who haven't left the house for a long time, and they're just standing outside their house and singing to them. And I thought we were thinking that this may be perceived as a gimmick or something that is done solely for PR, but the response we're getting from the people is amazing. That they're feeling somebody's looking after them, somebody's taking care of them, somebody is really thinking about their well-being and not just if they're there to pay the taxes or not. You asked about the elderly, but we've done that with other communities. I'd say we realized when the schools were closed that the people who were suffering, or the children that were suffering the most, are the special needs children. And just saying, not only the schools were closed, but also the gardens in the cities were closed, and people were not able to go outside. And we made sure, together with the police and the municipality, that special needs children have the ability to go to gardens around the city, to have some time outside of their homes, and that they can actually feel that somehow their life is continuing, because try to explain to them what segregation is a bit different. And I'll just say before I finish that I still think the main challenge for us in this time, and I'm saying it's COVID-19, and before that there was a year with no real government, and even now not so stable government. I think the main issue for us as mayors is to be able not only to deal with the situation of emergency, but to remember that the life is still going on. There are still things that need to be taken care of. There are still things that the municipality is in charge of them, or was always in charge of them. It's like, it's not just cleaning the city, but it's also the developing of new neighborhoods, or the planning of a new metro system that is going to run from Tzvika's city to mine. So all these things are happening, and we really need to make sure that we're not just carried away by this COVID-19, but we're also giving the services that the people are used to expect from us, while keeping an open mind for the new services people are demanding from mayors due to the COVID-19 situation.
Thank you, Amir. Let's just hope that this crisis will be over soon, and the elderly population will be able to go back to their routine. I would now like to open the floor for questions and answers. You've posted some of your questions, and we will be happy to answer them. First, I would like to bring to the screen the ambassador of Croatia, who has a question. Hello, Ambassador. And your question is about education, so I would like to invite our chairman, Mr. Bibas, to answer. Please, Ambassador. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I first would like to thank to our Chief of Protocol and the Protocol Department, also to the Federation of the local governments, as well as the mayors, for reminding us how important is the role of the local governments. And as the chair, Mr. Bibas, mentioned, that education is the first step now in the new school year. First big challenge in front of all countries, in fact, Croatia as well. And we are having, in 1 hour, we are going to have a conversation between our two ministers of education, between Croatia and Israel, to see if we can help each other how to prepare ourselves better for this school year. I would like to ask, what is the format of your discussion with the national government? And how do you find, what is the level of your influence? Because it's a variety of local situations. I assume that the situation in one city might be completely different, or at least hugely different in comparison to the other one. So how do you manage to coordinate all of the different situations and requests maybe for computers, internet, equipment? If you can elaborate a little bit more on that topic, I would appreciate very much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ambassador. First of all, you know, you are the first state around the world that opened the gate to the Israeli people. So I do believe most of the Israeli people will get now to Croatia. I was a few of times. It's a wonderful place. I tell you something. We spoke about the September 1st to open the schools in Israel. But first of all, we did it. We did it in summer school. We took children from kindergarten and elementary school till fourth year, and we brought them to educational system with the inorganic group. not separated the capsule or something like that. We work now with the government, with the education ministry, and of course with the finance ministry in Israel to build the program. The program in Israel now has got a permission from Ministry of Health and Education Ministry is kindergarten, and the first and the second year will come in organic group to the schools. The third until the sixth year will combine together. For example, in my city, I can bring the student in elementary school, most of the student, to frontal lessons in study in elementary school, but we combine between remote learning through the computer or hybrid or something like that. And we divided kindergarten first and the second organic group. The other is combined between remote learning or distance learning and of course frontal learning. And of course in the high school we combine between the distance learning and the frontal learning. Half class come to the high school, and the other will do it through the computer in their home. We provide them computers, we provide them iPad or everything, and we complete to the family. We know through the welfare department in the city, and we will bring them the computer and all the equipment to distance learning. And of course, we supply all the equipment, you know, mask, gloves, and alcohol gel, and everything to start the September 1st, to start to opening the schools on time. We have a lot of problem, not directly, you know, by the coronavirus, because we don't have a government in Israel, we don't have a coalition, we need a budget, and we don't have the annual budget, so we can't build a new schools and a kindergarten, and a few of special programs in education system is not allowed by the government. So we are going to meeting with the finance ministry and the other people, and we are going to tell them, we prepare to the coronavirus with all the educational system in Israel, but we need a budget and we need a government. If we don't have this one, so we can't open the September 1st, all the schools, not because we have a problem with coronavirus, we have a problem with the government without budget in Israel. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaim, and thank you, Ambassador Freiша, for your question. Thank you very much for your question and for your answer, Chaim. The second question will be asked by the Ambassador of Rwanda. Ambassador, hello, how are you?
I'm fine, Shiri, how are you? Nice to see you again.
I'm good. It's good to see you, even from a distance.
Thank you.
Please, Ambassador, we're listening to your question. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to thank Chaim Givas and the other mayors who have given us a very enlightening presentations about how they've been handling the COVID-19 crisis in different municipalities. My question is just wanted to understand how mass testing is organized. Is it done voluntarily by the people just coming and gather in some sites and get tested? or the mayors, the ones mobilizing people to come to the different sites to get the mass testing? I just wanted to understand how it is done. Do people fear to get tested? Do people come voluntarily? We see the drive-thrus facilitation of mass testing. I just wanted to have an idea of how it's organized. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for your question. Mayor Ilan Or, would you like to answer the Ambassador's question?
Yes, thank you very much. Hello, Ambassador. I heard that you have a wonderful country. I didn't visit there yet, but hopefully in the future. I think that the great success of dealing with the coronavirus pandemic is the cooperation between the organizations, all the organizations. Here in Israel, and I can speak about what's going on in the north, there are the Kupot Cholim. Kupot Cholim are the health and maintenance organizations, and there are several Kupot Cholim organizations that they are the citizens of Israel are members of these organizations, and they are directing the people who need to be checked to special centers that they are checked, seeing if they are sick from the corona or not. This is one thing. The other thing, we have the Magen David centers. It's comparing to the Red Cross First Aid organization all over the world. That we here in Israel, we have the Magen David organization that they have their checkpoints. Now the Magen David organization and the Kupot Cholim organization, they have their laboratories. In addition to the laboratories that are in the hospitals, that also send everybody are sending the checks to the hospitals or to regional laboratories, I must say that if we speak about another organization that we are dealing with, we have the Home Front Command of the Army that is also part of the opportunity or to check people if it's needed. But above everybody, there is the government, the Ministry of Health in Israel, that they are providing, if it's the license or the directions, or taking the responsibility of the checks and the results of the checks. I must say that as a village in the periphery, today I have dozens of people that are isolated from the residents because they're suspicious of being sick, and around 10 people that are sick. All the instructions I'm getting every day from the Ministry of Health.
Thank you. Thank you, Ilan. Thank you for your answer, and thank you, Ambassador, for your good question. Our last question will come from the Ambassador of Ireland. Hello, Ambassador. Nice meeting you. And we're happy to listen to your question.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for a very interesting insight into the municipal and local government efforts in COVID-19. My question is really more about the future. I'm wondering how the mayors view the prospect of an increasing number of municipally specific or geographically specific lockdown measures or restrictive measures. It looks as though going forward there will be more COVID-19 measures that relate only to one area or one district. And I'm wondering how the mayors feel this will be possible to implement without distracting from national unity or without making it more difficult to get the kind of civic commitment to keep going on these measures. And the reason I'm asking, obviously, is because we're having the same discussion in Ireland at the moment, where we're starting to use local measures rather than national measures. So I'd be interested in anything the mayors would have to say about the way in which they can reinforce or support local measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Definitely a challenge. May I ask Mr. Amir Kojavi, the Mayor of Hod HaSharon, to answer this question?
Sure. Thank you, Shiri. I would say, Ambassador, that I think it's quite the opposite. I think that people find it much harder to understand why the whole country is in lockdown if only certain areas are infected by or widely infected by the COVID-19. I think the key point is to be able to speak to the people, and that can be done through the municipalities to make sure they're educated about the situation. They know how many people we put out information on a daily basis through digital media and through WhatsApp messages to the citizens, so they know exactly how many people are sick in the city, how many people are isolated, how many have gotten well. And this is all a part of trying to really make a point in telling the people that, yes, there are many things that can be done by the country, but in the end, the best way to remain healthy is that everybody takes care of his own. And I think that when it's explained well by the government and by the mayors, then the people not only understand why a geographical lockdown is needed, they even accept it as a more reasonable way of dealing with the situation than creating a statewide lockdown. We had this situation, we had both situations. We had a statewide lockdown, and it was much harder explaining to the people in healthy cities why they're on lockdown, why they're not able to go to work, why they're not able to go to schools. And we've had geographical lockdowns where you saw that, yes, there's a lot of politics behind it, and maybe some mayors don't like it, and maybe they think that it shouldn't be done that way. And then there's a political dealing with the government about sometimes which streets to lock down and which neighborhoods not to. But I think that in most cases, it's really the better way of handling the situation. It's much easier to explain to people why you're dealing specifically and not statewide. And I think it all lies in the way that the central government and the local government interact with each other, with the health ministry and all the other functioning bodies that are relevant to the situation, but mostly the way that the local leadership delivers the message continuously to the people. And I think that situation, of course, if the situation in Ireland is such that there are cities that are much more infected than others, then I think the geographical lockdowns they make a lot more sense when they're done correctly, with the message being delivered well.
Thank you, Ambassador Vaden, for your question, and thank you, Amir, for your answer. Finally, I would like to give the floor back to Chaim Bibas to give his closing remarks. Chaim, please.
Thank you, Shiri, and thank you, of course, the ambassadors and the mayors. I'm hopeful that the worst is behind us. Only time, of course, will tell. We are wiser now, and we have been through stress and difficulty. Thank you all my colleagues, Mayor of Bat Yam, Mr. Brot, Mayor of Al-Fachem, Mr. Dr. Samir, Mayor of Kadima Tzoran, Karen Green, Mayor of Yesod HaMa'ala, Ilan Or, Mayor of Hod HaSharon, Amir Kojavi. Thank you, ambassadors and diplomatic. I invite you to see the Federation of Local Authorities in Israel as gate to Israeli municipalities. We are here for you, and we made and make a lot of sister city and cooperation and partnership with a lot of cities in your countries, and we would like to widen it, because I do believe through the municipalities we can build a real bridge to participate and to do a lot of things together. I look forward to continue our joint effort and discussion, and thank you for joining this important platform to exchange ideas. Next time, let's do it in person, like in the past, and we would like to make it in the future together. Of course, in the annual conference of the local government in Israel, and of course in your countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chaim, and thank you so much for letting us do it, and it was a great honor. And thank you, dear mayors, for your important words. It was an honor to, it is an honor to be a resident in your cities and towns. And thank you, Ambassador, for joining us and for giving us a share of your time. Thank you for all of us for joining us. I would like to thank our team at the Federation of Local Authorities, at the Foreign Affairs Division, mostly Anat, Menachem, Noam, for their hard work in organizing and preparing this event. We look forward for holding future meetings in person, as Chaim said, to discuss more positive topics. For the meantime, please feel free to view us, the Federation of Local Authorities in Israel, as your home address, as we say, for all things related to Israel's vast and diverse municipalities. And until next time, goodbye and shalom. Thank you very much.
Thank you.